I forced my body to relax, trying to be as small as possible. I had to make the bed look flat, and I could move very, very little. I moved my head slightly, making sure I couldn't see any openings, then laid still. In the distance were sounds of many running feet sprinting across the house. Doors were being flung open, and I could hear chittering laughter. And then a scream rang out. It was a woman. She seemed to be somewhere above me. Her voice was muffled from the mattress, but I could tell she was begging for her life. I heard her scream fade into the distance as she was dragged off into the unknown. One down, four left. For maybe an hour, I listened to the sound of movement above me and below me. Some even right outside the room I was in. Sweat dripped into my eye, and the beating of my heart was so hard that I feared the mattress was moving above me. I stopped when I heard the door to my room creak open. I held my breath and listened in agony as the footsteps slowly entered the room. They did not sound human. They were heavy and clopped on the fragile floor. They sounded like hooves. I held my breath, trying to keep my body from shaking. The thing slowly walked in and stopped at the foot of the bed. I could hear its heavy breathing, and tears started to fill my eye. I jumped in horror as the thing in the room suddenly dropped to the floor. It was looking under the bed. I stifled a soft squeal and squeezed my eyes shut. The thing snorted and rose back to its feet. A scream nearly escaped me as I felt something crawling under my shirt and onto my stomach. A bug of some sort had crawled back into the bed and was attracted to my warmth. I forced myself to keel, still as the bug crawled its way over me, its little legs sending waves of disgust across my spine. Just as I was beginning to think the thing had left the room, a scream came from off in the distance. It was a man, and the scream was filled with pure terror. It felt as if he peered into the face of death itself. The thing in the room suddenly ran out, its hoofed feet stomping across the rotted wood as it chased after the sound. I let out a breath that I'd been keeping in and swiped away the bug that was crawling over me. It had made its way to my face in a recoil in horror as it crept over the bandage covering my missing eye. The panic, fear, and shock of it all proved too much, and my body gave out on me. The only thing I knew was darkness. In my unconscious state, I only remember seeing flashes of her, the memories I had of her warmth and life. I woke up with a start to the sound of the grandfather clock chiming. Each toll rang with the beat of my heart, and I let out a sigh of relief. Either the 5 hours had passed, or I was the only one left. Slowly I crawled out from between the disgusting mattress and box spring. I swiped away the bugs that had nestled onto my body and shivered. There was little light streaming in through the window, and I carefully maneuvered over to the bedroom door. I peeked into the dark hallway and heard silence. I navigated slowly out of the mansion, making sure to avoid the trails of blood that led up and down the halls. Once outside, I took in a deep breath of fresh air. The musty smell of the mansion clung on my clothes, and I couldn't wait to get home to take a long, hot shower. My crazy plan had worked, and I survived another step. At my car, I found a black key with the words Step 5 completed engraved in white letters on it. It had been placed on the hood of my car and glistened in the low afternoon light. Glancing around, I noticed that the other cars were still present, and only one other had a key on it. I heard the sound of footsteps on the porch and turned back to look. Stumbling out of the mansion was a young woman, very young. She seemed to still be in her teens. Like myself, she was covered in bandages and scars, and I could see that she was also missing an ear. She didn't notice me as I walked to her car and picked up the key. She didn't notice me as she walked to her car and picked up the key. I'm gonna have to cut that. I heard the sound of footsteps on the porch and turned to look. Stumbling out of the mansion was a young woman, very young. She seemed to still be in her teens. Like myself, she was covered in bandages and scars, and I could see that she was also missing an ear. She didn't notice me as she walked to her car and picked up the key. She stared at it for a while before placing it in her pocket and getting into her car. As she started the engine, she finally looked up at me. We looked at one another in a silent acknowledgement. She gave one little nod and drove off down the lane, leaving a trail of dust in her wake. I wasn't the only one looking for answers, looking to bring back that someone who made the world go round. Quietly, I got in my car and began my trip home.